Well, thank you for joining me at this beautiful clinic.
Thank you.
So if you can take me through, give us your name, your age, and a little bit of your professional history, that'd be great.
Sure. My name is Katie. I am 39 and been working in healthcare for the last 15 years.
Okay. Well, so what kind of roles have you done in healthcare?
I was a clinical manager in Gibbons. I
Yeah.
worked for the Faculty of Nursing for the U of A, and then I worked 7 years with the primary care networks, and then I took on a job in the cannabis industry.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe even in this building.
Maybe.
So let's go through a little bit of your medical history. So you personally and professionally ended up in the medical
Absolutely.
cannabis industry.
Yeah.
But if you can walk me through some of that.
Yeah, sure. So had my kids at a really young age, and shortly after I had my kids, things just kind of started going downhill for me a little bit. I started gaining a lot of weight. I was the girl who was 110 pounds, who went up to 200 pounds in 6 months with no explanation. I changed nothing of what I did. Started 23, got called back into the ER for an emergency as my ECG showed that I had a heart attack. They had no rhyme or reason when they did the test. They said, no, you didn't, but your ECG says it did. So fast forward 7 years of going to see doctors. I was having constant weight gain, never feeling well, so I was told I was depressed, I had anxiety, I had postpartum depression. Get happy, be happy was kind of the theory they put behind me, and I'm like, so I started believing that I was depressed and postpartum, and found a doctor 7 years later who actually listened and ran some tests and was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and lupus.
Oh, okay.
So-
And what are the symptoms of so it's Hashimoto's and lupus?
Yeah, so Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease that attacks the thyroid directly, right? So it messes up with the hormones,
Yeah.
your weight, your irritability, you're constantly tired, your hair falls out, your skin
Oh
dries
my
out.
gosh.
Like, you name it, everything just kind of starts to fall apart there. And then lupus, SLE lupus is what I have, is a systematic. When you're in a flare-up, it'll attack what organ it chooses to attack. So it's attacked my heart, it's attacked my kidneys, it's attacked my liver, it's attacked my skin, my hair, you name it. Been in and out of the hospital for most of my life. Spent 4 months in the hospital at one point after the kidneys failed.
And this is all after your first child at 23. It was
It was my first child at 19.
Oh, 19, yeah.
19.
Yeah. And is that common? Like, is that, like, can that be a trigger for any
They
of these
actually,
diseases? Or?
now the specialists that I work with feel that I was always kind of a borderline autoimmune disease.
Okay.
Because on the reverse flip side of things, I was 5'10", 110 pounds, couldn't gain a pound to save my life.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing, I was always tired, but I was also very active, so we just kind of always assumed that the pain and the tiredness and stuff was just because I was so active. But when it flipped, I guess pregnancy is something that can, create it, as can stress, right? And so, I'm not sure which one took it, but
Yeah.
two kids under 22.
So
that's part
you
of it.
were dealing with issues from these two diagnoses
Right.
for 7 years.
For 7 years, undiagnosed.
Not undiagnosed. And
Undiagnosed for 7 years.
how were you treating your undiagnosed issues? Was there any medical engagement
No,
at that
I
point?
tried like herbal remedies,
Yeah.
right? Like I have medical background in the family as well, so we tried increasing certain vitamins and doing that kind of stuff. And you'd notice little differences, or so I thought. But when I realized that lupus works in a remission and active state, it was like, oh, I'm feeling better, and then all of a sudden I'm not, and then I was feeling better, and then I wasn't, right? So it was a constant back and forth battle.
Yeah.
And they always kind of fell around the same time, so then they were saying it was like seasonal depression and that kind of stuff, right? Because I know certain months are worse for me than others. So once it was diagnosed, long treatments, a lot of drugs, and a lot of steroids, which just increased the weight once again, and battled with that for a long time.
So so what was that regimen? So you're saying a couple steroids, like how did it start?
So
where did it progress
the
to?
first thing they treated was Hashimoto's. That was the first one I was diagnosed with. So they put me on Synthroid, and using the Synthroid, it helped with some of the symptoms, but not a lot of them. So I still struggled. Went back to the doctor, and we just kept increasing and increasing and increasing. And then there's a test that they run for lupus, 2 specific tests. One is your ANA, which kind of shows how much inflammation is in the body. And the other one, believe it or not, is like a syphilis test. So syphilis can also come back positive if you have lupus. So both of those tested positive. My ANA was so off the chart that it could actually physically no longer read it on the scale. And so went through 3 positive tests, and that's when I was given the confirmation that it was in fact lupus that was causing the majority of my issues.
So then, was there new medication after that?
Yeah, so prednisone, methotrexate. I can't remember. There was an antidepressant as well, because they figured that depression was a part of a symptom, I guess.
Okay, so that was the first time you got a depression, were prescribed something to deal with depression?
Actually, I was prescribed prior to, but I always refused to take it because I knew in my head I wasn't depressed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I had a great marriage, great kids, great life, got the privilege of staying home and raising my kids for 7 years. I wasn't depressed.
Yeah.
I just wasn't feeling good.
Yeah.
And so I never took it. I started taking all the drugs that they gave me when I was diagnosed with lupus and Hashimoto's, and found that they caused more issues. So now I had IBS, I had chronic pain, things just, certain symptoms got better and then new symptoms developed, right? And so decided that I no longer wanted to take those drugs anymore, came off of them, and got really sick again and ended up in the hospital for months on end.
Oh, so you didn't have anything to replace them with, you just tried to get off them.
Tried to get off of them, yeah, and then it wasn't...
All at once?
All at once.
Oh, cold turkey? So you got out of bed. How long ago was this? How long were you on them when you tried to go off them cold turkey?
5 years.
You're on them for 5 years. You're on this daily regimen.
Of
how many
steroids
pills a day?
6.
6 pills a day.
6 pills a day.
So why did you get out of bed that morning and say I'm done today? Like what?
So again, there's a bit of a medical background in my family, and my dad, who is a doctor as well, more chiropractic, right, but is specialized in natural health, was telling me all the symptoms that steroids cause, right? Like the long-term use of steroids and the damage it's going to do to your body and the damage it does to everything else. Just decided that I'd rather live with the symptoms I had than create new ones.
You wanted to go back.
Rather live with the devil I knew than the devil I didn't.
Yeah, so you were overwhelmed and frustrated, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
And you were like, I'm out. I'm done. And then, so you went off them.
And that's when depression actually kicked in, right? That feeling of there was nothing that was going to help me. I was just going to be sick and tired the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And then I found cannabis.
Yeah. So how was this after you? So you went in the hospital for 4 months because you went off these
No, sorry, I was in the hospital for 4 months before I was diagnosed, when my kidneys failed, and they had no idea as to why.
Sorry.
I went back into the hospital about 3 months after for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
With a migraine that wouldn't pass. Open my eyes and vomit. I'm also allergic to morphine, Demerol, Granville, antihistamines, so there was like no treatment options they were giving me. So they just kept me on fluid for 3 weeks while the body was just kind of doing what it was doing, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So there was a withdrawal period when you.
I'm not sure, to tell you the truth, if it was a withdrawal or if it was just the symptoms coming back because I was getting off of them.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. So how long from that point? When was that?
That would have been 3 years ago.
3 years ago? So was it right then? Was it about 3 years ago that you decided to, explore medical cannabis as a treatment?
Cannabis was actually about 1.5 years ago for me. So I went another full 1.5 years of just feeling really down and depressed and angry and frustrated with life. Had a moment of, did I really want to be here anymore or not? And that's when I realized I needed to find something else.
Yeah, you needed something.
And
nothing is not an option.
No, that's just it. And at that time, my stepmother was going through stage 4 breast cancer and opted out on all treatments because they'd given her 6 months to live. She actually went 4.5 months using cannabis, no chemo, no radiation before she passed. And I realized if they could do that for cancer, what can it do for us? Yeah. Right, so that's when I chose to get on cannabis and give that a try. So
how did that process work? Were you apprehensive to try cannabis?
No,
outside of that?
Not at all,
that?
actually. Like growing up, like I knew Cannabis.
Yeah.
Cannabis and I were already friends. Just
you had a
wasn't
recreational
being,
relationship
that's
with
right.
cannabis.
Just wasn't using it properly.
Yeah. So there's no stigma. You were like, okay,
No.
I'm going to give this a shot. And,
absolutely.
And right in. So how did that? How did you approach it? So how did you?
It was
start,
actually my
start
doctor
engaging
who
with
was the one that first diagnosed me with the issues, who'd said that he'd been doing a lot of research in this and that it was something that I should look into.
Okay.
So I took an appointment and went and learned a little bit about cannabis at that time and started using it. Again, wasn't using it correctly for myself at that time, so I was feeling some difference and feeling a little bit better, but not what I was hoping for, right? So it was about 6 months after that I received some other education and started realizing how to use the cannabis correctly. And then so within a few months of doing that correctly, I noticed an immediate difference, right? I was constantly getting up out of bed. I wasn't fighting the world anymore. I used to hit my 3 o'clock wall where by 3 o'clock I was done, leave me alone. I don't go through those symptoms anymore. And then the weight started falling off, started feeling like I wanted to exercise again and live life again. So using high CBDs and just small amounts of THC for me is what was working best. And the ANA test that I said earlier that measures the inflammation, so greater than 1,000, right, when I was first diagnosed. 6 months after using cannabis, it came in at 800. And when I went in for my follow-up 2 months ago, it was down to 200. Right, so anything over 0 is considered inflammation in the body, but the fact that I went to greater than 1,000 to 200, it's got to mean something, right? Not only am I feeling better, but the blood work is also starting to show differently.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how? So I guess how has that changed your life? Like
it's changed everything. I feel like living again, right? And out camping, having fun, riding. Doing everything I used to love to do, because it doesn't hurt as much anymore to do it. So it's changed everything for my family as a whole. I have energy for them again.
Well, that's important, right?
Absolutely.
And it's hard. A lot of times it's hard for family members to understand what their family members going through.
And especially when you're not diagnosed, right? So, the kids are getting frustrated, the husband's getting frustrated, and it's just like, the doctor says you're fine, and it's like, but I'm not. Right? So, it was definitely a stressful few years on the family and on the relationships, and a better understanding as everybody as a whole, right? So
your doctor, so the interesting thing you said was your doctor had been researching medical cannabis as a treatment. So he was, and so he brought this to you. He
did. He brought it to me. Absolutely.
And so then from there, did he give you a direct prescription at that point?
No, he did not. He referred me to a clinic where I received my prescription through them.
Oh, excellent.
Time,
So and he had. And why was he researching it? Did he tell you why he was looking at it?
He said that a few months back, one of his patients came to him and talked about it, and it's what I love about this specific doctor. He always says he's there for the patient. So he said that he would do a little bit of his own research, and if he felt it was something that would benefit his patient, he would refer. And so he referred his patient, who was also diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. And when he came back and started telling him how much better he felt, he then started doing some more research. And with his patients that he felt that nothing was helping them, he started sending them over to a clinic to be assessed. So
so for him it was a last option, so to speak. But he
was
tried.
An option. Absolutely. And it's not his last option anymore. This was a year and a half ago. He's now very much a doctor that supports cannabis.
Oh, so that's transition. So there's might be a good first option as opposed to a more powerful.
I mean, physicians have to watch, right? It's not supposed to be the first line of options for doctors, which is something that needs to change in the industry, is that it should be a patient's first choice to go to cannabis as opposed to trying all the other pharmaceutical drugs. I think it's supposed to be like the third or fourth try on the list is where cannabis is supposed to be at this moment.
That's more of an accepted practice. Go down the list of
and when this doesn't work and this doesn't work and this doesn't work, then you can try this.
So you are now in the industry yourself. You not only and you're still in so you've been in the medical industry for quite a while, but now you're in the medical cannabis industry.
That's right,
So tell me a little bit about what you do now for a living and how you're engaged in the medical industry.
I am the clinical manager for the herb clinics here. Run all the behind the scenes to the clinic, so when they first started, they were a very small company who wanted to make an impact. So they hired some individuals who had a healthcare background and would take off from there. It's been a great journey. It's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of really interesting people. I've heard a lot of really great stories. And hearing and seeing our patients come through the door is what gives me gratification at the end of the day. So.
And did you seek this industry out after your own results? Was that?
This actually fell on my lap.
Yeah.
No. So I don't know. I know a few of the owners here and have, prior to them starting their business, I helped them get started in the first place, just as I worked my own job as a favor to a friend. And when they decided they wanted to stay fully medical and not go recreational whatsoever any longer, he actually came to me and asked me if I wanted to take the job on. At that point, my kids were finally grown and all had their own driver's license. I didn't have to worry about how they were getting to school because I drove them to school every day, picked them up every day, took care of them. And I said, sure, let's go. So took a small company and building it.
And here you are in the industry, supporting patients that are like you.
Yeah, that benefit from cannabis. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, and I think you're going to have a an exciting future because we're just getting started.
Definitely, yeah, paving our own paths.
Paving the path. Yeah,
that's right.